Why is everything happening to Klein in his bathroom? Like, give the man some space. God damn. Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Art and Recap. I'm your artist Faye, and today we are reading chapter 246 till 250 of Lord of the Mysteries. Chapter 246, Strange Omen. Aaron and Talim, the two dudes who helped Klein join the Quillag Club, left after the nomination process. Klein accepted his badge that proves he's a member of the club, and we find out that the initial membership fee of the club cost 50 goddamn pounds, and because Klein joined around late September or October, he had to add in 4 pounds for the annual fee. Like, goddamn, what the hell? Why isn't that included in the initial 50 pounds? This sounds like such a scam, guys. At least let people have a 1-week trial of your club or something. Though I guess the +1 that the members bring along could be considered them having a trial run, but still, it sounds so scammy. The valet welcomes Klein, and Klein looks at the badge he received that proves his membership. On the front was the symbol of the club with the number 192 printed on it, and on the back was his incognito name, Sherlock Moriarty. Klein asks the valet if the club now has 192 members, and the guy confirms before telling Klein all about the accommodations available for him, like a tennis court, shooting range, buffet, and of course lounges and rooms and whatever, right? And okay, so we find out in the previous chapters that the club has a £15 annual subscription service. So let's do the math real quick, yes? 15 times 192, that'll be around £2,880 a year that this club is earning. I don't really think that the club is making a profit. Think of it like this. They have to pay all the staff their monthly salaries. So far, we know that they have at least one maid, a valet, and also 2 guards at the door. I don't think that the valet and the maid alone can maintain the club. So let's say that they have at least 5 maids running around because they're understaffed. They also have cooks employed because they have a buffet and a la carte available. So they definitely have a chef, and that chef definitely has helpers. Let's say there's 3 kitchen helpers now. So the staff has 1 valet, 5 maids, 1 sous chef, 3 kitchen helpers, and 2 guards. That will be 12 staff members in total. We know that Benson earns £1 a week or so. Since we're in Backland and not some backwater town like Tingen, their salaries definitely are higher than Benson's. Also, they're working for the elites too, so I'm going to assume that they're the best of the best at their jobs, so they earn more than the regular person in the same profession. Let's say they earn £3 a week, with the valet and sous chef earning £5. Let's do the math, yes? 3 times 4 equals 12. So one maid earns £12 a month. 12 times 10, because that's the number of staff they have that earns the same as her. That's already £120 a month. Now, 120 times 12 is already £1,440. And if we do the same calculations for the sous chef and the valet, who earns £5 a week, that will be £480 a year spent on their salaries. Combine that with £1,440 and we have £1,920. So we have £2,880 for the club fees minus £1,920, that'll equal £960. And you're probably thinking, Faye, that's still a lot. But I don't know about you guys, but I think they also have to spend money for food, ingredients for the buffet, cleaning supplies, and general maintenance of the building and their grounds. Not to mention, they probably also employ gardeners who come by regularly to mow their lawn or maintain the shooting range and the 2 tennis courts. In the end, I think there will only be less than £500 available, and I don't think they get that many club members who join every year either, since they're very selective. And for nobles, £500 just seem like chump change, right? Or is that only because we're following Audrey? But then again, Glenn said that he can also pay CO and Force 500 each if they find him, the apothecary recipe or whatever, right? And honestly, I don't think that the person who owns the club is a minor noble. So they are probably going to be, I don't know, at least mid to high tier nobility or a really, really wealthy businessman to be maintaining this type of club. Also, what if a member leaves? Do they have to reprint everybody's badges again so that the correct number will be shown, or do they keep that number reserved for whenever someone new comes along? But then that would mean that the number that Klein has could possibly be a lie right now if that were the case, right? Also, I haven't done math in ages. I could be wrong too. And again, this is just assuming the base income that people in Backlund has. Because again, Backlund is such a huge city, it's bound to be more expensive. So that means that the salaries that people get also get more expensive, right? It's just the thing, that's how the world works. Back on topic. Klein wanders around and takes note of his environment because he's considering how he can get evidence of the Ragu's, that's Mary's husband by the way, affair. He's also thinking about the flash of the camera and how he'd get kicked out of the club if he got found out. Because again, these Victorian cameras, the very first cameras around, they have crazy flash. Then Klein's spidey senses started tingling and then vanished after a bit. He divined through a flip of a coin if he'll be attacked in the next few days, and he received a negative answer. Then he closed he closed the curtains in the room he's in, pretending that he's going to take an afternoon nap before he went to the Grey Fog world and divined if he's going to be in danger in the next few days, and this time he got a positive result. He thinks that Bakerland's assistant is involved with this feeling of danger that he felt earlier. He thinks that him getting that feeling makes no mystical sense, especially since that assistant is a higher sequence than him. Klein decides not to think too much about it now before leaving to withdraw the money Audrey wired him and heading over to Braveheart's bar. There he met up with Marek, who hasn't been surrounded by zombies in a while, and told him that he agreed to the bodyguard deal. Klein tells him that the protection begins now, and Marek looks over his shoulder and said, "Alright," she agreed. Klein turned around in surprise but saw no one behind him even when he activated his spirit vision. Marek told him that his bodyguard has begun to protect him in secret like he asked, and Klein thinks that if he hadn't divined this beforehand, he definitely would have thought that he was getting scammed. Klein heads home and went to the bathroom to wash his hands. When he looked up at the mirror, he saw a woman wearing a black regal dress, light golden hair and blue eyes behind him. She curtsied before vanishing, and Klein was like, so that's my bodyguard. And I am like, why is everything happening to Klein in his bathroom? Like, give the man some space. God damn. Like, first, he was taking a shit, right? And he was minding his own business, washing his hand, and then got attacked by Marisol, and now he just came home and was washing his hands, and now there's a ghost lady behind him. What? Klein just wants his peace and quiet, guys. Leave him alone. Well, okay, the bodyguard can't leave him alone because he hired her for like £1,000. She needs to make sure he stays alive, I guess. And I just really hope that she doesn't follow him in the bathroom for the next 3 days that she's hired by him. Chapter 247, The Whole Story. It seems like Klein hired a female ghost as his bodyguard. Because she's not affected by Mr. Asik's whistle, he thinks that she isn't an undead creature. But then again, none of the corpses reacted when it was buried with him, and Klein had to wonder if it's cause he was buried in the cemetery and was sent off by a priest. He wonders exactly what the whistle can do and plans to visit the cemetery once the issue with the ambassador got resolved. The doorbell rang just as he was about to chill and read the newspaper in the living room. He puts on his coat and cautiously approaches the door and opens it to find Ian Wright at his doorstep. Klein was like, "What the hell is this kid doing here? Is it going to be the prelude to the danger I sensed?" Ian said that he came to apologize because Klein got involved in a dangerous matter. And Klein was like, I told you to go to the police. And Ian said that he just came out from M19. And MI, not M19, MI9 is the department that gossipy dude Audrey was chatting with in the previous chapter. Klein invites Ian inside so that they can chat cause he wanna know what's happening. Before Ian could tell what happened though, the ghost lady materialized and sat on a ghost chair to listen into the story, and Klein was like, really? Okay then, because she also wants to know about the gossip. And of course, Ian can't see the lady, but Klein can. Ian tells Klein that Detective Zriel was a spy for the Faceak Empire and that he adopted several homeless children and taught them how to gather intel. Ian was one of those kids. 2 weeks ago, Ian stumbled upon clues about something called the Helmuswin's manuscript. The guy, Turani von Helmuswin, was the greatest scientist after Rosell. Klein was like, oh, that guy. No wonder I was familiar with the name. Apparently, that Helmuswin guy was a crazy scientist who mysteriously disappeared while researching a third-generation difference engine, and that this engine was important to every country. Klein likened that thing for an alternative for computers in their steampunk era and asked if it's involved with the manuscript Ian found. Ian, I keep switching between Ian and Ian. I'm sorry, guys. I need to stick to one. Ian shook his head and said that he didn't actually see it, but it had some related ideas. He tells Klein that after they found Zriel's corpse, he went back to it when they parted, and that he took Zriel's inscribed tooth. Yeah, he took Zriel's tooth because inscribed in it is a method on how to contact his superior. Klein asked him if he sent a telegram, and Ian was surprised and asked if someone from MI9 told him that. But Klein denied it and said that a friend of his saw Ian on Bacardi Street. Ian didn't question it further and told Klein that the Smenger gang found him, but thankfully chaos ensued when M19 arrived. I keep saying M19. I don't know why I keep saying M19. It's MI9. Chaos ensued when MI9 arrived on the scene, and Ian managed to escape the fight to meet up with Zriel's superior. However, this time the Smenger gang ambushed him again and took him with them for some interrogation. Ian, who didn't want to lose his life, spilled all of the beans, but the gang still wanted him dead. He probably would have stayed dead if MI9 didn't find him right on time. Anyways, Ian also spilled the bean to the MI9, and now he's here to apologize for involving Klein and also spilling the beans to Klein. That was all Ian had to say before he said he'll disappear for a while or he might get thrown into jail. Chapter 248, Waiting from Both Sides. Klein thinks that the issue with Helmuswin's manuscript will end tonight, which is probably the reason why his spider senses started tingling earlier. But Klein wasn't too worried because he has the language of foulness charm and Miss Bodyguard with him. He was thinking that he'll come out as a beyonder to his bodyguard and the rest of the relevant people and tell them that it was thanks to the black ear that he managed to become one. They definitely wouldn't question his seer tendencies then, and since he's a seer, a non-combatant, I don't think a lot of people would care much about it either. He's really hoping that whoever Bakerland sends after him would be a seer too, so that he can grab whatever beyonder characteristics and knowledge they have once they're dead. So he tells the bodyguard this excuse, and she just gave a nod and then vanished. He picked up where he left off before Ian disturbed his evening and started reading the newspaper. After a while, the doorbell rang again, and Klein was like, damn, who is it this time? Oh, by the way, Ian already left. He cautiously approached the door and used his clown senses to predict who he'd see after opening it. His senses told him that it was a man he met before. It was Sergeant Vaccine, the man who was with him when he reported Mirsol's death. Klein opened the door with confusion, and he wondered if the man was sent by MI9 to find Ian. Before we find out what happens to Klein, however, the scene changes to the Intis embassy where a ball was taking place. After mingling with his guests, Bakerland went to the balcony to catch some fresh air. So far, we found out that Bakerland knew what Ian was up to and that he's been planning for MI9 to be distracted tonight so that his lackey, Rosago, can finish his task and then go and kill Klein. A young pretty lady in a crimson dress approached him with wine in her hands. The two of them chatted with each other until he invited her to his room to sample some Ormir wine from God knows how old it is, right? She agreed and they went to the second floor where Bakerland ordered his guards to stay away from them and not disturb him. Before they can even taste the wine, the two had a romp around in bed. However, her nails began to sharpen as she clung to Bakerland, but before anything could happen, Bakerland punched her in the abdomen and stood up from the bed. He looked at her coldly and asked who sent her. His hands burst into flames as he summoned a fire whip. He asked again who sent her, but before she could answer, a wall of fire sprouted in front of her, and, well, she died because a figure drilled its way out of her belly. The screaming thing was covered in red liquid until it became the size of an adult. It turned into a humanoid figure that was so beautiful it looked like a woman in a blood-red robe. Bakerland exclaimed, "Rose Bishop!" in surprise. It is the sequence 6 of the Secret Suppliant Pathway. Rose Bishops were experts in flesh and blood magic and could hide inside the bodies of others. The Rose Bishop approached Bakerland by passing the wall of fire in front of him. Bakerland retreated and yelled for help, but it was to no avail. He sent his guard away and Rosago, his most capable lackey, was out on a mission. He yelled for help again until he realized that the room has been isolated from the world because his yells started echoing. The Rose Bishop chuckled and said that it was his own fault that he sent his guards away. The Rose Bishop magnified his will and distorted reality in a way that none of his guards would have realized. Birkeland frowned because that power belongs to the lawyer pathway. It was the Baron of Corruption, a sequence 6 of the Black Emperor pathway. Birkeland finally figured out that he's facing a shepherd and asked who he is from the Aurora Order and why he was sent to assassinate him. The shepherd chuckled and told him that he doesn't need to know who he is and he should just accept the Lord's blessings instead. But before he could say anything more, his body turned into a puppet because Bakerland was using a mystical item while they were chatting. The shepherd narrowed his eyes, but clawed their way out of the puppet body into a more demonic-looking form, complete with goat horns and wings, by the way. Bakerland summoned a spear made of fire and was about to launch it at the shepherd when suddenly he started coughing. The shepherd asked him with a smirk and said, "Why do you think I was entertaining you with a chat? What does severe pneumonia feels like?" Bakerland, while gasping for breath between coughs, said that he killed a demoness of affliction. But the shepherd said nah, it was actually a gift from Saint Tenebrous. Then he said, "I know you conspirators are crafty little bastards, so I'll kill you now using my strongest ability so you won't have any hope of surviving this BS. He summoned a book and it flipped around while he chanted, "I came, I saw, I record," which I guess is the less aggressive version of "I came, I saw, I conquered." As long as he has it recorded in the book, he can use an ability from it once, which is low-key kind of OP. Like, who died and turned into that artifact? Seriously. The shepherd quickly turned into a small giant covered in black armor. The knight raised his broadsword, which is, by the way, not a real sword, it's like spiritually manifested, and slashed forward, splitting Bakerland apart. Bakerland's body fell to the floor, but no blood gushed out of the ground. Not only was his body torn apart, but so was his soul. Also, I guess it's like, because no blood was gushing out of it, the slash was so fast and the heat was so searing that it sealed the wound. Possible? Possible. The shepherd didn't bother to wait for Bakerland's Beyonder characteristic to appear. He turned back into a normal-sized person and left the embassy before anyone could find him. Back to Klein, however, he flipped a coin before he opened the door. He divined if the visitor will bring danger, and he got a negative answer. However, he didn't dare to let his guard down, knowing that he's facing a Beyonder much more powerful than him and they could mess with his divination. He couldn't exactly go to the Grey Fog world right now to divine if everything is correct either, so he opened the door and greeted the sergeant. The man told him that he's been ordered by the higher ups to warn Klein to be very careful tonight and tomorrow and to be wary of strangers. As if the military didn't tail Klein around and watched him worriedly ask around to hire a bodyguard. Klein was acting very, very well like a scared little guy this whole time. He knows how to be wary. Klein nodded at what the surgeon said, and the surgeon told him that the higher ups have given Klein three choices. First is to go to the Holy Wind Cathedral for 2 days. Klein listened carefully and waited for the second choice, but that didn't come because his vision blurred and his head went numb. The feeling was very similar to what he felt when he faced the puppet from the Antigonus sealed artifact, and Klein put two and two together and realized that he's facing a mid-sequence beyonder of the seer pathway. The muscles on Fexin's face started squirming as his face changed into that of a man with black hair and blue eyes. The man smiled at Klein and said, "Given time, this is one of the most difficult abilities to deal with for anyone that isn't a high sequence beyonder." Before he could utter a word, his bodyguard appeared out of the reflection of the window. The man was surprised that Klein managed to hire such a powerful beyonder as his bodyguard, and asked what kind of compensation he's offered her. Also, he introduced himself as Rosago, just like as a throwaway line, I guess. Klein couldn't really do or say anything because Rosago already had him under control while he was monologuing. But he hasn't fully controlled the bodyguard yet, because she was struggling and resisting as she slowly moved towards them like a puppet. Klein realized that they're most likely fighting in the realm of mystery and that he needed to do something to tip the balance in her favor. With much difficulty, he took out the language of Faulness charm and casted the spell at Rosago. The language of the true creator boomed, and in 3 seconds, Rosago's face swelled up as Miss Bodyguard's figure became clearer. It wasn't over yet though, as each of them fell to the ground and let out a scream of pain upon hearing the true creator's voice. Klein was the first to recover and get to his feet though, because of course he has this mental protection and all that, right? He saw Rosago tear his clothes off and stripped off his skin to expose his flesh and veins. Klein knew that the guy was about to lose control and decided to shoot the man's head with his revolver, Captain Dune style. Just to be sure that the guy doesn't stand up like a zombie, Klein used a Requiem charm. He also put Miss Bodyguard into the sleep spell so she can stop struggling. Klein didn't bother to do the mediumship ritual on Rosago because he got tainted by the true creator. Instead, he took Rosago's spirituality with him into the Grey Folk world thanks to Mr. Asik's whistle. He began the mediumship ritual there and asked for the potion formulas for the seer pathway. And that was Lord of the Mysteries chapter 246 till 250. What did you guys think about these chapters? Holy shit, a lot of things went down during these chapters, and again, in the next chapter, I guess it's going to be a little bit more calm because Klein is divining the seer potions and stuff. But damn, a lot of fight scenes going on in these chapters, and I'm surprised I managed to actually kind of follow along. There was a little bit of confusion at some point in some parts. I had to reread the fight between Bakerland and Mr. A, because I was like, wait, what is going on here? Because a lot of powers and stuff getting mentioned here and there. But I think the one with what's it called, between Klein and Rosago and Miss Bodyguard, Mr. Bodyguard. That was a lot more easier to follow because Miss Bodyguard isn't really doing much. She was just, mentally she's fighting Rosago, I guess, and Klein was just standing there. He even mentioned in one of the chapters, I didn't say it here previously, that he actually the fight was kind of calm in a sense that none of his furniture got damaged compared to Mersault's fight between him and Mersault, right? He had to like buy all new dishes and furniture because so much got destroyed. But yeah, against Rosago was more like he is, what's it called? He's stalling for time compared to Mersault again, because I guess that's not his style. And the mention of the Antigonus family notebook really made me wonder, hey, if this is definitely connected. And also because the Antigonus family is actually connected to the seer pathway, it really did make sense that someone would have the power to, be doll-like, to control people, like how this Rosago is controlling Miss Bodyguard by like making her walk towards him and also like stopping Klein in his tracks. Because again, Klein mentioned that it felt very similar to the puppet that he fought with the Nighthawks, right? Where he had to move his arm back and forth like a crazy guy. And yeah, I just think it made sense because again, that puppet is a sealed artifact of the Antigonus family. So that means that again, it's connected to the seer pathway and someone from the seer pathway dropped that loot, right? So I do wonder if the Antigonus family notebook is also actually some sort of loot of the family, like maybe their most powerful member dropped that and it had all of the secrets. Maybe, I don't know, just a theory. As for this video's artwork, I'm working on the webcomic right now. I still got no illustrations to show you guys because I've been busy doing some other stuff, like working on the webcomic. I have a lot of recordings of the webcomics I've done so far, but the thing is I cannot, or I don't want to show actually the process until it's at least, posted on Patreon, so that at least my Patreon still has, early access to the webcomic. Yeah, that's basically it. If you guys want to check out my webcomic, it's called Dreaming of Aurora. If you want, it's available on webcomic and Tapas. My commissions are open and my Vision link is down in the description below. I would like to thank my patrons Robek, Vanarik, and J. Voljevelitska for the support. I'll see you guys next time. Bye!